Hey peeps, it's LaVeeda from What Can't LaVeeda Do. In today's video, I will show you how to make these cool little surgery caps for kids who are undergoing surgery, and all different types of fun fabrics to help ease their mind as they're going into a scary situation. What you will need in order to make these caps are the following, and I will also put them down in the description below. You will need some type of paper. This is a roll of paper that I got from Home Depot. It's actually used to put underneath the wood flooring. If you don't want to invest in anything like that, if you're not a sewer, I use this to make sewing patterns. But if you don't want to invest in something like this, and it was only like $10, go to the dollar store and get some wrapping paper. We can use that. You will need a see-through ruler, or a ruler period, a seam gauge, a marker, fabric scissors, paper scissors, or if you're not a sewer, just any pair of scissors, a 1/4 inch wide of elastic. You will need your fabric, your fashion fabric. I've already cut all of mine out, and I did a previous video, but stupid me, I didn't test my equipment before using it. I bought a new mic, so I recorded the entire video, no audio. So I have to do a take 2. So all my fabric is already cut out, but I'm going to show you how to cut it out on muslin. So if you're interested in doing this nice little project to donate to hospital, please stay with me. Okay peeps, welcome back. So the first thing we're going to do is make our template for the circle. And so let me explain the attributes of a circle. So you have your circle here. The outer measurement of a circle is called a circumference. Directly in the center and through a circle is called the diameter. From any point in the center of the circle to the outer edge of the circle is called a radius. In order to make this circle for the cap that we're using, we need to know the diameter of the circle. So the diameter that we want is 18 3/4 or 18.75. In order to make the circle, there are 2 ways to make a circle. You can either have a big piece of paper, have a pen, tie a string to it, a stick pen, tie a string to a pen, put the pen in a circle and draw the circle that way, like a protractor. The method we're going to use today is folding the paper to make the circle. So we will need to know this diameter and half of the diameter, which is 9.375, something like that, and we're going to round it to 9.38. So the radius that we're looking for, that we need to measure, is 9.38. So I got my dollar store paper here. And the paper needs to be at least 1 inch wider than your diameter. So our diameter, like I said, is 18.75. So this should be at least 19.75. So let me cut here. And the good thing about this paper from the dollar store, it has grid lines. And we need to have almost a perfect rectangle so that our circle comes out correctly. Okay. So I'm going to turn the paper inside out. So we're going to fold it So we have our long edges towards you, towards your stomach, and going against you. So first we're going to turn the paper upward, as if it's a hot dog bun. That's the best way I can describe it. Next, we're going to fold the short ends, which is this end here, to the other end. And you want the folded edges, and there are two. You want one folded edge on the left side and the other folded edge towards you, towards your stomach. You want the open edges on the right side of you and ahead of you. So this point right here, this is the center of the circle. So we need to draw a radius of 9.30. And where's my Sharpie? That fell on the floor. Give me a second. Okay. So I have my ruler here. So we're going to put the 0 point, or the edge of the ruler, right at the center point of the circle. And we're going to measure out 9.38. And that 9.38 is between the quarter mark and the ½ mark. And it's about right here. So we mark that. So I'm going to start from the edge and work my way all the way around. So I'm going to mark the 9.38 measurement using little dots. And the closer you have your dots, the easier it's going to be for you to connect the dots if this is unfamiliar to you. So my suggestion, make plenty of dots. Make 2 more. Okay, now we're going to connect the dots. So I'm going to turn it so I can easily draw the dot. I'm sorry, connect the dots. And I'm able to do it in one continuous motion. If you can't, it's alright. So now at this point, I'm going to use my paper scissors. And right now we have a quarter circle. This is a quarter of the circle. So we're going to cut this out. And the reason why we cut on folded paper is so that we can get 4/4 of the circle. And there we have our circle. So now this is your template to use for your fabric. So now, let me bring the fabric over. So I'm using muslin here. And if you use muslin, you can actually use this fabric as your template. Instead of using this paper, you can cut the circle on this fabric here. And that way it'll last forever. So I have a yard of muslin here. And if you fold the muslin in half, short edge to short edge, just like we folded the paper, we have the folded edge along the left side and the folded edge towards your belly. Now you should be able to get 4 caps out of this. Now right now my cap is going beyond the edge. It's no biggie. What we're going to do, we're going to fold this circle template back up. And we're going to trim some of the edge off. Oh, and what I forgot to show you is our finished circle. What we were looking for was 18.75. So we're going to take our measurement and measure the diameter of the circle, going right through the circle. And no wonder it goes off the edge of the fabric, because it's 19 inches. So yes, we have room to play with to trim. So we're going to fold it back. It's always good to have too much and not enough. So make sure everything is aligned. We're going to take our paper scissors and we're just going to trim some of it off. Maybe 1/4 of an inch. And as you can see, I'm holding the paper down with my left hand so that the paper doesn't shift as I'm cutting. So now let's bring the fabric back over and make sure the edges are meeting. Everything is nice and neat and straight. Let's put our template onto the fabric. And it's perfect. It's perfect. So now at which point I'm going to pin our circle template to our fabric here. Let me flip it on the opposite side so you can see me pinning. And you don't need too many pins, you just need enough pins so that as you're cutting, the fabric or the paper pattern doesn't shift. Y'all, this is such a fun project. I can't wait to start my production. As soon as I finish this video, I'm going to get busy. My goal is to make a couple a day after I get home from work. And on the weekends, just bust it out. Just so as many as I can. And then I want to send the finished product to our local children's hospital in D.C. And I will put, if you live in the DMV area, Maryland, D.C., Virginia, I will have the address for you in the description where you can send your finished products to. Okay, that's enough for me. So now I'm going to take my fabric scissors, because they're much sharper than the paper scissors, and cut my circle. Okay, now we're going to remove our pins. Remove our pattern. And here you have it. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 perfect circles to make your caps. And that's the beauty of folding the fabric and folding the paper to make the template, is that you get more bang for your buck. You cut once and you have 4 caps here. So now that we're done cutting our fabric, we're going to move on to the sewing machine. So I'll see you in a second. Okay, we are back. We're at my sewing station here. So what we're going to do now is serge the edges. And this is a serger, and what a serger does, it finishes off the raw edge so that a fabric like cotton won't ravel as you wash it and rubbing it up against it. If you don't have a serger, you can always use the zigzag stitch on your sewing machine to go along the edges. So let's get started with our serger. And what a serger does also as it's stitching is also trimming. So you may see some little frayed bits right here. Okay, so the edges are serged. You can see that. And as you can also see, I switched to my actual fabric. I may sew up those muslins. I don't know. I'm sure kids won't want to wear that unless I embroider them. But that's what a serger does. It prevents the edges from raveling, and it also makes it look nicer. So next what we're going to do, we're going to turn the edges up a 1/2 inch. So we're going to have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And that hem, and then we're going to leave a portion of it open. So we're going to sew it down all the way around, and then we're going to leave an opening, maybe 1 inch wide. So between these two pins we will not sew, and that's for us to feed the elastic through. So first things first, let's go to my pressing station so I can show you how to press the hem down. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, I set up a little pressing station over here on my cutting board. So this is where the seam gauge comes in handy. And the seam gauge is like a mini ruler, but it has this little marker here so that once you set to the distance that you want, it stays there. You use as your guide. So like I said earlier, we want a 1/2 inch hem going along our cap here. So you have your 1 inch line here, and that's the 1/2 inch right there. So it's going to stay right there. So now I come over to the fabric, I fold it over, and I measure to make sure I got that 1/2 inch right there. And we got it. So now we take our iron and press down. And the good thing about cotton, when you're hemming and pressing, you don't need to put a pin in it. It stays right there. Otherwise, any other fabric, you have to pin it like that to keep it down, keep it in place. But we don't need that pin. So I'm going to go along the entire circumference of this circle. So I'm going to be quiet so I can fast forward through all of this. Okay, so now that we're finished pressing down the hem, we're going to flip it over and give it a final pressing. And this will ensure that it doesn't fold up. So I'm going to put a pin to mark where I started. And we're just going to go all the way around and give it a good pressing. Okay, now we're back at the beginning. And so now we're going to put a second pin and put it 1 inch away from the previous pin. And again, remember I said we're going to hem it all the way around, but we're not going to hem in between these two pins, because that's going to be our opening or our door for us to insert the elastic. So I will see you at my sewing station. Okay, so we're back at my sewing station. Make some room here. So like I said earlier, what we're going to do, we're going to sew on the outsides of these pins. So we're going to start here, sew all the way around, and stop right here, leaving the space open. And we're going to stitch right along our serge area. We're going to sew right in between that area. So we don't want to sew too close to the edge, but not so far away from the edge that the edge pulls up. So sew right between the serging stitches there. Put the needle in the down position, remove that pin. You don't want to sew over your pins, because it messes up the timing of the up and down motion. So always remove the pins as you approach them. So let's do a back stitch to lock that stitch in so it won't come out. And just take your time as you're going around the curves. Okay, so my pen came out, but I know this is my beginning. The pen is probably stuck underneath of there, but I know I'm approaching the beginning because I have the tail of thread that I started with. So that's your indicator right there. So I'm gonna put a pin right back in there. I bet you that's stuck underneath there. So I'm approaching the pin. I'm going to take a couple more steps, and I'm going to back stitch to lock it. So always cut your threads. Gives you a more professional look. Alright, so we got it all hemmed down. So next, you're going to take a piece of a 1/4 inch wide, 18 inches long piece of elastic. So you wanna put a pin on each end of the elastic, and I'm gonna tell you why in a second. Okay, so one end you're gonna use to feed through your little tunnel here of your hem. Now let me find my opening. Okay, this is my opening. So you're going to use this end to feed right up in there. In this other end, this pin will prevent the elastic from coming through as you pull it through from back to the opening. So once we get close to this edge, what we're going to do is we're going to pin it to the fabric to ensure that it goes nowhere. So let's go ahead and feed it through. You're just going to push the end of the pin all the way through, and you're going to pull the fabric. And make sure you don't squeeze the tip of the pin, because it will open up on you and poke through the fabric. And it's pretty hard to close the pin back up once it's in the fabric like this. So just push through. Got a little tunnel here. And make sure you pull the fabric and not the elastic. It's the prettiest, tedious process, but it's also relaxing. You know, it looks like a lot of work, but it's not at all. You can make one cap probably in, like, if you're a new sewer, you can probably make it in a half hour. No more than an hour. You can make a cap an hour. But for your experienced sewers, probably take you maybe 15 minutes. Once you cut out the circle and cut out the fabric, the rest of this is downhill. Okay, so we're approaching the end of the elastic, so we're going to just pin it to the fabric. That way, once we pull this way, it won't come completely out. So we're about almost halfway through. And as you can see, as I pull the fabric, I'm also trying to distribute the fabric along that elastic there. I hope you don't hear my neighbor up there running and jumping. Oh my God, they get on my nerves. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Okay, we're almost there. So just distribute the fabric periodically. Almost there. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And like I said, be patient with this step, because if that pin opens up, it's going to be hard to close and hard to pull the pin out to start over again. Okay, we're a few inches away. Okay, we're at the opening, so I'm going to unpin this one and hold on to it, and I'm going to push the other end out. Peekaboo, I see you. Okay, so let's take that pin out. Move that over there. So at this point, you're going to overlap the ends of the elastic, just like that. And I'm going to put a pin in it. So as I transfer it to the sewing machine, it doesn't shift. Hold on. You see how it just came apart? So overlap, overlap, and pin in place. There we go. That's how it should look. So just pull the elastic up so you have some room to sew, to stick it underneath the presser foot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a zigzag stitch, because the zigzag stitch stretches along with the elastic, so it won't pop as it's being stretched. So I'm going to pull the pin out. So I'm going to go up and down maybe twice. So that's the first lap. So I'm going to move it over just a little. And go back one more time. Pull it out. Cut those loose threads. And that's how it looks. So now you're going to redistribute the fabric. And then there's our opening right there. And now we're going to stitch that down. So let's turn our machine back onto the straight stitch and stretch this out. You see how it jumbles up right now? You want to stretch it out and stitch it down. Okay, let's cut our stitch, our thread. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our surgery cap for the kids. Oh my God. Okay, they took me to another place just now. But I feel so much joy and pride making these caps for the kids. So I'm sure you're going to get the same type of enjoyment. But use your talents, use your skills, use your resources to give back to those who can't give to themselves. And to bring a little hope and joy to these little kids who are going into a scary situation, you know. So I really hope they look at these caps and just a big old smile come on their face and all their anxiety just goes out the door. And when their parents see their kids, you know, nice and happy, it's going to ease them some too. So, like I said, I will put the address for Children's Hospital in DC in the description. All you need is a yard of fabric, a sewing machine. If you don't have a sewing machine, you can do this by hand. Maybe I should have did a segment on doing this by hand. It'll take a little longer, but it can be done. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned some things. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out on anything. Thank you so much again.